Melos was furious. He decided that he must get rid of the evil and tyrannical king. Melos did not understand politics. Melos was a herdsman in a village. He lived his life playing the flute and playing with his sheep. However, he was more sensitive to evil than others. At dawn today, Melos left his village, crossed the fields and mountains, and came to the city of Syracuse, 10 miles away. He had no father, no mother, no wife. He had no wife. He lives alone with his shy sister, who is 16 years old. The younger sister was going to marry a shy herdsman from the village soon. The wedding is coming soon. That's why Melos came all the way to the market to buy the bride's clothes and the feast. First, he bought the items, and then he wandered the streets of the city. Melos had a friend on stilts. He was Salinicus. He was now a stonemason in the city of Syracuse. He was going to visit his friend. It had been a long time since I had seen him, so I was looking forward to visiting him. As he walked along, Melos became suspicious of the town. It was so quiet. The sun was already down, and it was natural that the city was dark, but it wasn't just because of the night. The whole city seemed rather lonely. Even the carefree Melos began to feel uneasy. He grabbed the young man he had met on the street and asked him if something was wrong, saying, "When I came to this market 2 years ago, everyone sang songs even at night and the town was lively." The young people shook their heads and did not answer. After walking for a while, he met the old man and asked him a question in a more forceful tone. The old man did not answer. Melos shook the old man's body with both hands and asked more questions. The old man replied in a low, hushed voice. "The king kills people. Why does he do it? He said he had an evil heart, but no one has such an evil heart. Have you killed many people?" "Yes, first the king's sister-in-law. Then his own heir. Then his sister. Then his sister's son. Then the empress. Then the wise retainer, Alexis. I'm surprised. Is the king overzealous?" "No, not at all. He says he cannot trust people. These days, he even doubts the hearts of his subjects, and orders that those who live a little ostentatiously should be given 1 hostage each. If you refuse to obey his command, you will be crucified and killed. Today, 6 people were killed." Hearing this, Melos was furious. "I can't let him live. I cannot let you live." Melos was a simple man. Carrying his shopping on his back, he strolled into the royal castle. He was immediately arrested by a patrolman. When they searched him, they found a dagger in his pocket, which caused a great commotion. Melos was brought before the king. "What did you intend to do with this dagger? Tell me." Dionysus, the tyrant, asked quietly but with dignity. The king's face was pale, and the wrinkles between his brows were as deep as if they were etched. "Save the city from the hands of the tyrant." Melos replied, not taking offense. "You will?" The king took pity on him. The king took pity on him. "You can't help it. You have no idea how lonely I am." "Don't tell me." Melos retorted, his temper flaring. "Don't tell me." Melos retorted, his temper flaring. "It is a most shameful vice to doubt a man's heart. A king doubts the loyalty of his people. It is you who have taught me that doubt is a righteous attitude. You taught me that doubt is the right attitude. Man is by nature a selfish creature. Don't trust them." The tyrant muttered calmly and breathed a sigh of relief. "I want peace, too. Man is by nature a selfish creature. Don't trust them." The tyrant muttered calmly and breathed a sigh of relief. "I want peace, too. What for? Why peace? To protect your position?" Melos sneered. "What is peace but the murder of innocents? Shut up, you lowborn. Shut up, you lowly one." The king quickly raised his head and retorted. "You can say all kinds of innocent things with your mouth. I can't see into the depths of their cotton bellies. You won't even hear me crying and apologizing after the crucifixion. Oh, the king is clever. Oh, the king is clever. You should be proud of yourself. I'm ready to die. I will never beg for my life. If you want to make love to me, please give me 3 days before my execution. I want my only sister to have a husband. Within 3 days, I will have a wedding in my village and I will return here." "Nonsense." The tyrant laughed low and hoarsely. The tyrant laughed hoarsely and said, "You are telling an absurd lie. Do you think the little bird you let escape will return? Yes, it will. Yes, it is coming back. Melos insisted desperately. I will keep my promise. Please forgive me for 3 days. My sister is waiting for my return. If you don't believe me, there is a stonemason in the city named Shincho. He's my dearest friend. I will leave him here as a hostage. If I run away and don't come back here until nightfall on the 3rd day, strangle my friend. I beg you, do so. Hearing this, the king laughed softly and with a cruel heart. You're so cocky. I'm sure he won't come back anyway. It would be fun to pretend to be fooled by this liar and let him go. It would be fun to pretend to be fooled by this liar and let him go, and it would be fun to kill him on the 3rd day. That's why people can't be trusted, I said with a sad face, and I'm going to crucify him. I'd like to show him to all the honest people in the world. I heard your request. You may call for his substitute. On the 3rd day, come back before sundown. If you don't, I'll surely kill him. Come back in a little while. Your sins will be forgiven forever. What are you talking about? Ha! If your life is important to you, come back to me. I know your heart. Melos was so disappointed that he could not say anything. He did not want to say anything. Ruinous, his friend on stilts, was summoned to the royal castle at midnight. In the presence of the tyrant Dionysus, the good friend and the good friend met for the first time in 2 years. Melos told his friend everything that had happened. Shincho silently nodded his head and embraced Melos tightly. That was all that mattered between friend and friend. Shincho was lassoed. Melos left immediately. It was early summer, and the sky was full of stars. The next morning, the sun was already high in the sky, and the villagers were already at work in the fields. The sun was already high in the sky and the villagers were already out in the fields working. Melos' 16-year-old sister was guarding the flock in place of her brother. She was surprised to find her brother staggering toward her, looking exhausted. Looking exhausted, so she noisily asked him a question. It's nothing. Melos tried to force a smile. I left some business at the city. Your wedding will take place tomorrow. The sooner the better. Her sister blushed. Are you happy? I've bought you a beautiful dress. Now go and inform the people of the village that the wedding is tomorrow. The wedding is tomorrow. Melos staggered off again, returned home, decorated the altar of the gods, set up the feast, and soon collapsed on the floor, falling into a sleep so deep that he could not breathe. It was night when he woke up. As soon as Melos woke up, he went to the groom's house. He went to the bridegroom's house and asked for the wedding to be held tomorrow. The groom, a herdsman, was surprised and replied that he could not do that he was not ready yet, and that he would have to wait until the grape season. The herdsman's son-in-law was surprised. His son-in-law, the herdsman, was stubborn. His son-in-law, a herdsman, was also stubborn and refused to give his consent. They argued until dawn, and finally managed to coax and persuade the son-in-law. The wedding took place in the middle of the day. Just as the bride and groom were about to swear their oaths to the gods, black clouds covered the sky, and it began to rain, little by little, until the rain became so heavy that it washed away the axles. The villagers present at the feast felt something ominous, but nevertheless, they were all in high spirits, and in their small houses, braving the sweltering heat, they sang merrily and clapped their hands. Melos, too, was full of joy, and for a while he even forgot about his promise to the king. As the night fell, the feast became more and more turbulent and festive, and the people no longer cared about the torrential rain outside. Melos thought that he wished he could live with these good people for the rest of his life, but now it was his body, not his own. It was not right. Melos whipped himself into a frenzy and finally decided to leave. There was still 10 minutes before sunset tomorrow. He thought he would get some sleep and then leave immediately. By that time, the rain would have let up. I wanted to stay in this house as long as I could. Even a man as good as Melos has a pang of regret. He approached the bride, who seemed to be in a stupor tonight, drunk with joy. Congratulations. I'm tired, and I'd like to go to sleep, if you don't mind. As soon as I wake up, I'll go to the market. I have important business to attend to. Even if I'm not here, you already have a kind husband, so you won't be lonely. The thing your brother hates the most is being suspicious and lying. You know that, don't you? You can't keep any secrets from your husband. That's all I'm saying to you. Your brother is probably a great man, and you should be proud of that." The bride nodded her head dreamily. Melos then patted the bridegroom on the shoulder. Melos then patted the bridegroom on the shoulder and said, "We are both ill prepared. The only treasures in my house are my sister and my sheep. I have nothing else. I will give them all away. One more thing, you should be proud to be Meros' brother." The bridegroom was rubbing his hands and pouting. Meros laughed and bade the villagers goodbye, then left the banquet and went into the sheepfold to sleep deeply as if he were dead. It was twilight the next day when he woke up. Melos woke up at twilight the next day and said to himself, "Namusin, have I slept too long? Today, I will show the king that there is truth in human beings. Then I'll go up to the crucifixion with a smile on my face." Melos began to prepare himself with ease. The rain seemed to be letting up somewhat. He was ready to go. Now, with a big wave of his arms, Melos ran like an arrow through the rain. "I'm going to be killed tonight. I'm running to be killed. I am running to save my friend who is my ransom. I must run to defeat the wiles and wickedness of the king. I have to run. That's how I'll be killed. Guard your honor from a young age. Farewell, home." It was hard for young Melos. Several times, he almost stopped. He ran, shouting and scolding himself. By the time he reached the next village, the rain had stopped, the sun was high in the sky, and it was getting hot. Melos brushed the sweat from his forehead with his fist and said, "Now that I've come this far, I am okay. My sisters will make a good couple. I should have no worries now. All I have to do is to go straight to the royal castle. There is no need to be in such a hurry. Let's walk slowly," I thought, regaining my natural languidness and singing my favorite ditty in a good voice. He wandered for 2 miles, then 3, and was almost halfway through the entire journey when a sudden calamity stopped him in his tracks. Look at the river ahead. The torrential rains of the previous day had overflowed the mountain's water sources, and the muddy waters were pouring downstream in a torrent, destroying the bridge in one fell swoop. He stood there, stunned. He looked around and called out as loud as he could, but all the boats had been swept away by the waves, and there was no sign of the ferryman. At last, the current swelled up and became like an ocean. Melos huddled on the river bank, weeping manically, raising his hands to Zeus in supplication. "Oh, calm, raging stream. The hours are ticking by. The sun is already at midday. The sun is already at noon, and if I do not reach the castle before it sets, my good friend will die for me." The muddy waters raged more and more, laughing at Melos' cry. The waves swallowed him up, churning him up, agitating him, and time was fading away with every passing moment. Melos was ready now. There was nothing to do but swim through. "Oh, gods, look at me. Now is the time to demonstrate the great power of love and sincerity, which is not defeated by muddy waters." Melos jumped into the current with a thud and began a desperate struggle against the raging waves that were battering him like 100 giant snakes. With all his strength in his arms, he scrambled and scrambled against the swirling and dragging current, and the gods felt pity for the dizzy and furious man-child, and finally took pity on him. Although he was swept away, he was able to hang on to the trunk of a tree on the other side of the river. Thank God! Melos shivered as loudly as a horse, and hurried on. Even a moment could not be wasted. The sun was already setting in the west. Breathing hard, he climbed up the pass and was relieved when suddenly a group of bandits jumped out in front of him. "Wait! What are you doing? What are you doing? I must get to the castle before the sun sets. Let me go! Let me go! Leave everything you've got. I have nothing but my life. I have nothing but my life, and I'm going to give that life to the king. I want that life. So the king has sent you here to ambush me." The bandits, without saying a word, raised their clubs in unison. The bandits raised their clubs in unison without saying a word, and Melos bent his body, pounced on one of them like a flying bird, and snatched the club from his grasp. "I'm sorry, but it's for the sake of justice." He quickly struck down 3 of them and ran down the pass while the rest of them were still in a daze. He ran down the pass at a gallop, but he was exhausted, and the scorching afternoon sun was shining down on him, making him feel dizzy several times. I couldn't get up. He looked up to the sky and began to cry out in frustration. He swam through the murky waters, shot down 3 bandits, and broke through to this point. You are a true hero, Melos. It's a pity that you're so exhausted that you can't move right here, right now. My beloved friend will have to be killed for believing in you. I scolded myself, saying, you are a man of rare unbelief, just what the king wants. I lay down on the grass beside the road. If my body was exhausted, my spirit would be too. In the corner of my mind, I felt the unfaithfulness of a brave man who doesn't care anymore. I had made such an effort. I had not the slightest intention of breaking my promise. God forbid, I had tried to do my best. I have run until I could not move. I am not an unbeliever. Oh, if I could, I would break my chest open and show you my crimson heart. I want to show you this heart that runs only on the blood of love and faith. However, at this critical moment, I have run out of energy and roots. I am a very unhappy man. I am sure I will be laughed at. My family will be laughed at, too. I have deceived my friends. Falling down in the middle is the same as not doing anything at all. Oh, I don't care anymore. Perhaps this is my destiny. Please forgive me, Shincho. You have always believed in me. I have never deceived you. We were truly good friends and friends. Never once did we carry a dark cloud of doubt in our hearts. I'm sure you're still waiting for me. Yes, I know you are. Thank you, Shincho. How dare you believe in me? I can't stop thinking about it. Trust between friends is the most prized treasure in the world. I ran, Shincho. I did not mean to deceive you in the slightest. Believe me. I hurried to get here. I broke through the murky waters. I broke through the muddy waters, slipped through the bandits' encirclement, and cantered down the pass. I did it because I was me. Oh, don't give me any more wishes. Just leave me alone. It doesn't matter. I've lost. I'm sloppy. Laugh it up. The king told me to come back in a bit. If I did, he promised to kill the ransom and save me. I hated the king's meanness. But now I see that I am at the king's mercy. I'm going to fall behind. The king will laugh at me in his own accord and let me go without a fight. If that happens, it will be worse than death for me. I will be a traitor forever. The most disgraceful race on earth. I will die, too, Shincho. Let me die with you. You must be the only one who believes in me. Or is that just me, being smug? Oh, I'll just live out my days as a villain. I have a house in the village. I have sheep. My sister and her husband won't kick me out of the village. Justice, faith, and love are all nonsense when you think about it. I kill people to live. Isn't that the established law of the human world? Oh, everything was ridiculous. I am an ugly traitor. You can do whatever you want. I'll be back. I threw out my limbs and dozed off in a doze. Suddenly, I heard a murmuring sound of water flowing in my ears. I gently leaned my head back and listened with bated breath. It seemed that the water was flowing right under my feet. I staggered to my feet and saw that fresh water was gushing out of a crevice in the rock, whispering softly. Melos bent down as if he were being sucked into the spring. He scooped up the water with both hands and took a sip. A long sigh escaped his lips, and he felt as if he had awakened from a dream. I can walk. Let's go. As my body recovered from the fatigue, a small amount of hope arose in me. It was the hope of fulfilling my duty. It was the hope of protecting my honor by killing myself. The slanting sun cast its red light on the leaves of the trees, making them and their branches glow with a fiery glow. There is still some time before sunset. There is someone waiting for me. There are people who are waiting for me, who are quietly expecting me without the slightest doubt. They believe in me. My life is not a problem. I can't afford to say I'm sorry I'm dead. I have to repay the trust. That's all I care about now. Run. Melos. I am trusted. I am trusted. That demon whispering back there, that was a dream. A bad dream. Forget it. When your 5 organs are tired, you suddenly have a bad dream like that. Melos, there is no shame in you. After all, you are a true hero. You're able to stand and run again. Thank God. I can die a righteous man. Ah, the sun is setting. It's sinking fast. Wait, Zeus. I was born an honest man. Let me die an honest man. Pushing and bouncing past the passers-by, Melos ran like a black wind. He galloped through the midst of a feast in the field, stunned the revelers, kicked the dogs, jumped over the stream, and ran 10 times faster than the sun, which was slowly setting. As I sashayed past a group of travelers, I overheard an ominous conversation. That guy's probably at the stake by now. Oh, that man is the reason I'm running so fast. I can't let him die. Hurry up, Melos. Don't be late. Now is the time to let him know the power of love and sincerity. I don't care about the weather. Melos was now almost completely naked. He could not breathe, and blood spurted out of his mouth 2 or 3 times. I could see him. I could see the tower of the city of Syracuse in the distance. The tower was glistening in the setting sun. Ah, Master Melos. I heard a moaning voice along with the wind. Who is it? Melos asked as he ran. I am Philostratus. I am the apprentice of your friend Muirai-ha. The young stonemason also shouted as he ran after Melos. It's no use. It's no use. Please stop running. You can't help him now. No, the sun has not set yet. He's just about to be put to death. Oh, you're too late. I'm sorry for your loss. If only you had been a little earlier. No, the sun has not set yet. No, the sun has not set yet. Melos stared at the huge red sunset with a heartbreaking feeling. He had no choice but to run. Please don't. Please don't run, please don't run. Your own life is more important now. That man believed in you. Even when he was dragged off to the prison, he didn't mind. Even though the king teased him a lot, he only said that Melos would come, and he seemed to have strong faith. That's why I run. That's why I run, because people believe in me. It doesn't matter if we can make it or not. It doesn't matter if we make it or not. I'm running for something much, much bigger. Follow me. Philostratus. Oh, you've lost your mind. Then run faster. Perhaps you won't be too late. Run for it. So goes the saying. The sun hadn't set yet. With the last of his strength, he ran. Melos' head was empty. He was not thinking about anything. He just ran, dragged along by an incomprehensible force. The sun was wavering on the horizon, and just when the last shred of light was about to disappear, Melos plunged into the prison like a gale. Just in time. Wait. Do not kill the man. Melos came back. As promised, he's back. He thought he was shouting loudly to the crowd at the execution site, but his voice was hoarse and muffled, and none of the crowd noticed his arrival. The pillar of the crucifixion had already been erected, and Shin-gakusaku-ha, who had been lassoed, was gradually being fished out. Melos witnessed this and, in a last act of courage, waded through the crowd as if he had just swum through a muddy stream. It's me, bailiff. It is I who will be killed. It's me, Melos. I'm the one who took him hostage. Here I am. He finally ascended to the crucifixion and bit down on the legs of his friend, who was being fished out. The crowd roared. Oh, my God! Forgive me! They chanted. Muirai-ha's robe was untied. Muirai-ha! Melos said with tears in his eyes. Hit me! Hit me! Hit me in the cheek with all your might. I had a bad dream once on the way. If you don't hit me, I don't even deserve to be in your embrace. Hit me! Muirai-ha nodded his head, as if he knew everything, and punched Melos on the right cheek so loudly that it echoed throughout the prison. He punched him, then smiled gently and said. Hit me, Melos. Hit me just as loudly on my cheek. I've only suspected you once in the past 3 days. For the first time in my life, I doubted you. If you hadn't hit me, I wouldn't be able to embrace you. Melos snarled into his arms and punched Muirai-ha in the cheek. Thank you, my friend. They both said it at the same time, hugged each other tightly, and then cried out with a muffled cry of joy. Weeping could be heard from the crowd. Dionysus, the tyrant, gazed at them from behind the crowd, then quietly approached them, blushed, and said, Your wish has come true. Your wish has been granted. You have defeated my mind. Faith is not a vain delusion. Please let me be a part of it. Please do me a favor and let me be one of you. The crowd erupted in cheers. Long live the king! One of the girls offered her scarlet cloak to Melos. Melos was stunned. His good friend took the trouble to tell him. Melos, you're a bit of a fool, aren't you? Put on that cloak as soon as you can. This lovely girl is very reluctant to let everyone see her naked body. The brave man blushed terribly.